Okay. සුබ උදෑසනක් වේවා සියලු දෙනාටම ඇසල පුන් පොහෝ දවස උත්සවය අපි ආරම්භ කිරීමටයි සූදානම් වන්නේ. Good morning to everyone. We are now going to start our Esala program today. Exactly for a full moon day was on Friday, the 23rd. But today we celebrate as usually we start every Sundays. So today, Esala Full Moon Day is one of the most important prayer days in our Buddhist calendar. As the Buddhist world know, the Buddha's first sermon was delivered on the full moon day of Esala. This is the day the Buddha in the city of Benares at Isipatana, Buddha uttered Dhammacakka Sutta to 5 ascetic monks. Dhammacakka Sutta appeared in Mahavagga and Satya Sanyuktakaya. After the enlightenment, exactly after 2 months, Buddha met 5 ascetic monks. The story goes when he was in the 7th week, Rajayatana. From Rajayatana he went to Ajapala Nigrodha Mula. There an idea came into his mind, to whom I deliver my sermons, with whom do I share my experiences, which I have had attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. So he had a little hesitation regarding people are unable to understand the Dhamma. But Sahampati Mahabrahma invited the Buddha. There are some people who have little dust of their eyes. Excuse me. They can understand your Dhamma hero stand up and preach the Dhamma. So from Uruvela, Buddha journeyed to city of Benares. In the evening of Esala Full Moon Day, Buddha met the 5 ascetic monks, and Buddha uttered the first sermon of the Buddha, Dhammacakka Sutta. So Dhammacakka Sutta explained like the manifesto of the Buddha's whole teaching of Tripitaka. Throughout the 45 years of his long ministry, Buddha uttered so many discourses. Actually, the essence of the Tripitaka based on the Four Noble Truths. So the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, and Buddha's new spiritual line discovered, which he discovered under the Bodhi tree, was the middle path. So Buddha explained the Noble Eightfold Path. This way, Dhamma we celebrate the Dhamma day. The Dhamma arose on this full moon day. So we can say the birthday of the Dhamma, Buddha Dhamma, is the Esala full moon day. So very important. Also the first disciple who realized the Buddha's teaching was Anya Kondanya. 5 ascetic monks, his former colleagues, when he practiced severe austerities throughout 6 years, Buddha had well known the 5 ascetic monks, and Buddha had chosen 5 ascetic monks to deliver his first sermon. As he was aware, among the 5 ascetic monks, Kondanya became Sotapanna, and he understood the Buddha's first sermon. So therefore, the very important day, the Dhamma day, we celebrate today. And also, Buddha Sasana came into being, and seed had germinated in the fertile soil of Ishipatana and grew into a mighty tree, spreading the branches to far distance in the world. So there are many followers, millions of followers of the Buddha's teaching in the world today. So therefore, Buddha had changed the world, people's attitudes, he developed the thinking power and developed the wisdom. So Buddha has shown a very important spiritual line, spiritual path, we can say middle path. So we celebrate the Buddha's first sermon, and also there are many historical important events took place in the Sasana. In Sri Lanka, the foundation of the Ruammeli Maha Stupa was taken place on Esala full moon day. And also monks observe rainy retreat on full moon day. In Sri Lanka, actually, there is a cultural awakening because the Perahera procession start on full moon day in Esala. This way, there are so many reasons we have to celebrate today behind the full moon day. There are many important historical events took place in the Sasana. Therefore, we are celebrating the full day today from 9 to in the evening. We celebrate. We have a program. First and foremost, we administer 8 precepts and do Vandana and sermons, and the Dhamma talks will be there in the program. Now I would like to administer 8 precepts. Would you say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu 3 times? And say Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. Would you repeat after me this formula? Okasa, okasa, okasa. Ahang bhante tisaranena saddhin Attanga silang dhammang yachami Anuggahang katva silang detame bhante Buddhang saranang gacchami Dhammang saranang gacchami Sanghang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami Saranaгаmanang sampunnang Panatipata viramani sikkhapadan samadhiyami Adinādāna viramani sikkhapadan samadhiyami Abrahmacharya viramani sikkhapadan samadhiyami Musāvādā viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Suramiraya majjapamā daṭṭhāna viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Vikāla bhojana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Naca gita vadita Visuka dasana mala Gandha vilepana dharana mandana Vibhosanathana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Uchchāsayana mahāsayana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Imani uposatha Attanga silani samadhiyami Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now Vandana, this program continued, conducted by Venerable Bandula Thera.
Let us offer these offerings to the Buddha and pay respect to the Tipurjam, reciting Pali stanzas. We all say together those stanzas. Vannagandha guno pitang etang kusuma santating pujayami muning dasa siripada saroruhe pujemi buddhang kusumena nena punyena mitena chahotum puphang milayati yathaidang me kayo dathayati vinasa bhavang pujimi dhammang kusumena nena punyena mitena chahodumakkam puphang milayati yathaidang me kayo dathayati vinasa bhavang pujimi sanghang kusumena nena punyena mitena chahotumakkam puphang milayati yathaidang me kayo dathayati vinasa bhavang ghanasarapaditena dipena tamadang sena tilokadipang sambuddhang pujayami tamunudang gandha sangbharayutena dupe nahang sugandhina pujayi pujaniyantang puja bhajana muttama itipiso bhagavan arhang samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavido anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sattha deva manusanam buddho bhagavati arhang arhoti namena arhang papang nakaraye arhat palang patto arhang namati namo samma sambuddha jnanena samma sambuddha desana samma sambuddha lokasmin samma sambuddha te namo vijjacharana sampanno tassa vijjapakasita atita nagato vijjacharana te namo Sugato sugatathanang Sugato sundarang pica Nibbanang sugating yanti Sugato namate namo Loka viduti namena Atita nagati vidu Sankara satta okasi Loka vidu namati namo Anuttaro jnana silena Yolo kasasa anuttaro Anuttaro pujalo kasning tang namasa Yanuttaro sarati sarati
deva
Yolo kasa sarati sarati pujalo kasming tang namasami sarati devayakha manasanang loke agga palang dadang dadantang damayantanang purisa janyate namo bhagyava bhagava yutto bhagya kilesa vahato bhaggang sansara mataro bhagavanamati namo iti navagunayasa sambuddhasa sirimato namami tang mahavirang sabbanyang dipaduttamang swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akaliko ehi vassiko penaiko Paccattang veditabbo viññohiti supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho ujjupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho ඥාය පටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ සාවක සංඝෝ සාමීචි පටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ සාවක සංඝෝ යදිදං චත්තාරි පුරිස යුගානි අට්ඨ පුරිස පුග්ගලා ඒස භගවතෝ සාවක සංඝෝ ආහුනේයෝ පාහුනේයෝ දක්ඛිනේයෝ අංජලි කරණීයෝ අනුත්තරං පුඤ්ඤාඛෙත්තං ලෝකස්සාති සාධු සාධු සාධු. Let us recite the Karaniya Metta Sutta. You all can join with us. Karaniya Matta Kusalena Yantang Santang Padang Abhisamicca Sakko Ujucha Sujucha Suacho Jassa Mudu Anatimani Santussa Kocha Subharocha Apakichocha Sallakavati Santindriyocha Nipakocha Apagabo Kulesu Ananugiddo Nechakuddhang Samachari Kinchena Vinyo Pari Upavadeyum Sukhino Vakebhino Hantu Sabbe Satta Bhavanta Sukhitatta Ye Kechipana Bhutati Tasava Thavarava Anavasesa Dighava Ye Mahantava Majjima Rasakanukatula Dittava Yeva Addittha Yecha Dure Vasanti Avidure Bhutava Sangbhavi Siva Sabbe Satta Bhavanta Sukhitatha Naparo Parang Nikobbet Nati Manyet Katha Chinang Kanchi Vyarosana Patiga Sanyana Manyas Dukkha Micheya Mata Yatha Niyang Puttang Ayusa Eka Putta Manurakhe Evampi Sabba Bhutesu Manasang Bhavaye Aparimanang Mettancha Sabba Lokasming Manasang Bhavaye Aparimanang Uddhang Adocha Tiriyancha Asangvadang Avirang Asapatang Tithang Charang Nisinno Vasayano Yavadasa Vigata Middo Etang Sating Aditeya Brahma Metang Viharang Idemahu Ditthinche Anupagam Silava Dasanena Sampanno Kamisu Vinaya Gidang Nahi Jahatu Gabbaseyang Punariti Sadhu Sadhu.
Now, let us practice meditation on loving kindness, Metta Bhavana. We did chanting the Metta Sutta. Now, I am going to read the Metta Sutta. One who is skilled in the good and wishes to attain that state of calm, Nibbana should act thus. One should be sincere to oneself, upright and conscientious, of so speech gentle and not proud, contented, living simply, peaceful and unburdened, with senses calm, prudent, modest and without showing anxiety for sport. One should not commit any slight wrong on account of which wise men might censure one. May all beings be happy and secure. May their hearts be wholesome. Whatever living being there be, those mentally feeble or strong, physically long, stout or medium, short, small or large, those seen or unseen, dwelling far or near, those who are born and those who are to be born. May all beings, without exception, be happy-minded. Let none deceive another, nor despise any person whatsoever in any place. In anger or ill will, let one not wish any harm to another. Just as a mother would protect her only child at the risk of own life, even so, let one cultivate a boundless heart towards all beings. Let thoughts of infinite love pervade the whole world, above, below, and around, without any obstruction, without any hatred, without any enmity. Whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, as long as one is awake, this mindfulness should be developed. This, the wise say, is the highest conduct here. Not embracing false views, virtuous and endowed with insight, giving up attachments to sense desires. Indeed, such a person does not come again for repeated becoming. This is the universal declaration of loving kindness. So we are going to develop this quality of metta in us. That is the best way to celebrate the Buddha's first sermon, sharing our spiritual feeling of metta developing within us, and sharing that feeling of loving kindness, expressing our good thoughts to the whole world. We can practice this metta bhavana, we can exercise this quality of loving kindness gradually to the entire world. Actually, mind has a power, and we can create a lot of metta and share the metta quality, the feeling to the whole world, to the whole universe. Let us start this spiritual exercise of metta with this gong, the bell. We can close our eyes gently. For a little while, you can relax your body for the preparation of practice loving kindness. Relax your forehead, relax your eyebrows, eyelids, jaw, lips and tongue to be relaxed. If you feel any tension on the face, actually around the eyes, tense that area and relax. Tense the area of around the eyes and relax. And your neck and shoulders to be relaxed. Hands to be relaxed. Palms keep upward. And relax. And your chest and abdomen to be relaxed. You can visualize your image. You can really visualizing your image You can take a couple of deep breaths. With the sense of trust and well-being, you can take a deep breath and letting go of tension. One more deep breath. And let it go, allowing any tightness to dissolve. Now focus your mind on the process of breathing. Notice the different types of breaths, in-breaths, as in-breaths, and out-breaths as out-breaths. Short breaths and long breaths as well. Long in-breaths and long out-breaths. Short in-breaths and short out-breaths. First, we develop wishing your own well-being and happiness. Having observed 8 precepts and understanding the significance of the day, you can have a lot of spiritual feelings. Power of these spiritual feelings. Wish to yourself, may I be well, may I be happy and peaceful. May I be free from anger and ill will. May I be free from enmity and anxiety. May I be happy. May no harm come to me, may no difficulties come to me, may no problems come to me. May I be compassionate and forgiving. May I be joyful and rejoice in welfare and happiness of others. May I have a lot of patience, courage, determination and understanding to meet and overcome the problems, challenges, and failures in my life. May I take care of myself happily. You can visualize an aura of loving kindness around you. And we can share our thoughts of loving kindness, extend the feeling of loving kindness towards our fellow beings. First, you can share your metta with your family, loved one, and near one, your children, your grandchildren, your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, brothers and sisters. May they be well and happy, free from suffering. May they be free from anger and ill will. May they be free from enmity and anxiety. May they be happy. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they have patience, courage, determination and understanding to meet and overcome their problems, challenges and failures in their life. May they take care of themselves happily. We can extend the circle of loving kindness towards more people. You can extend your thoughts of loving kindness towards your friends. May my friends be well and happy, free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they be free from anger and ill will. May they be free from enmity and anxiety. May they have a lot of patience, courage, determination and understanding to meet and overcome their problems, challenges and failures in their life. May they take care of themselves happily. If there are any unfriendly people, may they be free from anger and ill will. May they be free from enmity and anxiety. May they be happy. Sometimes it may be challenging, but we have to clear our mind. May they be happy. We can extend our thoughts of loving kindness towards all sentient beings, regardless geographical boundaries, regardless their political beliefs, skin colors, and their religious beliefs. We develop metta towards whole world, towards right of us, left of us, before and behind us, above and below us, in all directions. You have become a center of loving kindness. Extending the feeling of metta. 4 times I ring the gong bell with the thoughts of universal prayers, universal thoughts of loving kindness. Dukkha pata cha nidukkha, those who are suffering, be free from suffering. Bhaya pata cha nibhaya, those who are in fear, be free from fear. Soka pata cha nisoka, Hontu sabbe pipanino, may all beings be free from all dangers. Thank you. Now you can have a little break until 10:15. Then we start the sermon at 10:20. Buddha Saranai.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yankinchi dukkhang samboti sabbang sankhara paccaya sankharanang nirodena natti dukkhassa sangbhavo. Dear friends in the Dhamma, as you all are aware, we are celebrating the very important full moon day today, Esala full moon day. The importance of the day, as explained by Most Venerable Nayak there earlier, I am not going to go detail on it, but I am going to focus today, as usual, because this is the day the Buddha delivered his first sermon. That is what we are celebrating. So I thought of doing the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, not all of it, but some of the main teachings we can get from this sermon. So first, that is very important sermon for the Buddha Sasana, because it is depend on that sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So Buddha, the stanza I have selected earlier, it was from one of the suttas, Dvaitanupassana Sutta, that is coming from Sutta Nipata. It says whatever suffering arises, it is all dependent on volitional activities. When volitional activities cease, the arising of suffering cease. So that is one of the stanzas in that sutta, because it is a long list of long stanzas. There were a lot of stanzas in that sermon, but I have selected only one to then what we can eradicate to attain the Nibbana. So that is what that stanza says. So when we are talking about the first sermon of that sutta, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Buddha started with, as you all aware, that Dveme bhikkhave anta pabbajitena nasevitabba yochayang kamesu kama sukhallikānu yogo hino gammo potujjaniko anariyo anatta sanghito yochayang atta kilamatānu yogo dukkho anariyo anatta sanghito. That is how Buddha started. Buddha here explained two extremes. One extreme, in the Buddha's own words, Buddha said, was a constant attachment to sensual pleasures, that is kama sukhallikānu yoga. But the Buddha described this extreme as base, vulgar, worldly, ignoble, and profitless. So that was the explanation Buddha has given. That's how Buddha described that Attakilamatāna yoga. So it doesn't mean that Buddha expected all his followers to go on material and left the material pleasures and also go to first and practice meditation. But Buddha was not that narrow-minded, but Buddha wanted to explain the reality of life. So whatever the deluded sensualist may feel about it, but to the dispassionate thinker, the enjoyment of sensual pleasures is distinctly short-lived, never completely satisfying. The results in unpleasant reactions. So that is how it is explained. So for some people it may be something else, but for the dispassionate thinker, he think, what about the sensual pleasures? Speaking of worldly happiness, the Buddha says that the acquisition of wealth and the enjoyment of possessions are two sources of pleasure for a layman. An understanding recluse would not, however, seek delight in the pursuit of these momentary pleasures, to the surprise of the average man, he might avoid them. So that is what the Buddha was giving this sermon to the monks. But for the monk who entered the stream, who entered the order, then they should not have that kama sukhallikāna sensual pleasures. Then other extreme is the constant addiction to self-mortification, that Atthakila Yoga. Commenting in this extreme, which is not practiced by the ordinary man, the Buddha remarks that it is painful, ignoble, and profitless. So that is what the explanation Buddha has given for that extreme. Unlike the first extreme, this is not described as the base, vulgar, or worldly. Selection of these words are very important here, because there is something with that Atthakila Yoga, but it is also painful, ignoble, and profitless. So Buddha then again explained his sermon. You all know these things actually. You have listened to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta many times, but it is better to recollect what the Buddha has given this important day. So Buddha says that again, Etete bhikkhave ubhavante anupakamma majjhima patipada tathagate nabhisambuddha chakkukarani jnanakarani upasamaya abhiññāya sambodhāya nibbānāya samvattati. That is how Buddha explained about his path. The Buddha says that he, that means Tathagata, realizing the error of both those two extremes, followed the middle path. This new path or way was discovered by himself. Buddha termed this new system Majjhima Patipada, the middle way. To persuade his disciples to give attention to his new path, he spoke of its various blessings. So that is what we explained in that Pali words. Unlike the two extremes earlier, this middle path produces spiritual insight and intellectual wisdom to see things as they truly are. When the insight is clarified and the intellect is sharpened, everything is seen in its true perspective. So that is how Buddha explained the middle path. Also, unlike the first two extremes, which stimulate desires, this middle path leads to the defeat of desires, which results in peace. Above all, it leads to the attainment of the four supramundane states, supramundane path, that is called the sainthood, to the understanding of the Four Noble Truths, and finally to the realization of the ultimate goal, Nibbana. So that is what will happen when somebody is following the Eightfold Path. So, what is this middle path explained by the Buddha? Buddha explained, it is the Noble Eightfold Path. The 8 factors are then enumerated in that sermon, that discourse. The first factor is right understanding. The keynote of Buddhism, that is right understanding. The Buddha stated that right understanding to clear the doubt of the monks and to guide them on the right way. Right understanding deals with the knowledge of oneself as one reality. It leads to the right thoughts of non-attachment or renunciation. Then loving kindness and also the harmlessness. That is called Nekkamma Sankappa, Avyapada Sankalpa, and Avihimsa Sankalpa. Then that is the second factor comes, which are opposed to selfishness. It is opposed to ill will and cruelty. Right thoughts result in right speech. When we have the right thought, what will happen? You will have right speech. Then right actions you will follow, and also right livelihood, which 3 factors perfect one's morality. The 6th factor is right effort, which deals with the elimination of evil states and the development of good state in oneself. This self-purification is best done by a careful contemplation, in which the right mindfulness comes over there. The seventh factor. It is essential. Effort combined with mindfulness produces right concentration or one-pointedness of the mind. That is the eighth factor. A one-pointed mind resembles a polished mirror where everything is clearly reflected with no distortion. Right after the Buddha's enlightenment, he proclaimed his Four Noble Truths. In the sermon you find that, which are the cornerstone of Buddhist teachings. Everything derived from these truths, which are the truth about the dukkha and how to transcend it. So Buddha's main idea was to show the dukkha and also to get rid of that dukkha. Then Buddha has seen suffering, so that is why first comes the truth of suffering. Life entails suffering. So that's what Buddha understood. That is the symptom we all have, the suffering, the dukkha. Then the Buddha come to second point, the cause of suffering. That is, the suffering is caused by craving or desires. Then Buddha diagnosed that this is the cause. There is a symptom. Buddha is like doctor. He start with the beginning. He find the symptoms. Then he diagnoses that problem. Then the third truth comes, the truth of the end suffering. Then prognosis comes. There is a cure for this suffering, which helps one to achieve the state known as Nibbana. So that is the prognosis to where to go. Then the fourth one comes, the truth of the path that frees of suffering. Follow the eightfold path to eliminate suffering in one's life. So that is the prescription Buddha has given. Buddha has seen there are things we all suffer. What is the cause of it? And he diagnoses that. Then he has given the prognosis and also he has given the prescription for that. That is what happened. If there is one word in the Buddhist world that causes so much confusion and conflict, it is the word dukkha. So it is a very difficult word to understand. Dukkha in Pali, in variation of Sanskrit, and it means a lot of things. For example, everything temporary is dukkha, including happiness. But some people can't get past that English word suffering and want to disagree with the Buddha's because of that word of suffering. But some translations are chucked by suffering and replace it with dissatisfaction or stress. Sometimes translated bump into words that have no correspondence word meaning the same thing in that language. Dukkha is one of those words. If we can't understand dukkha or don't really care of it, then we are assuming. We are missing a crucial part of Buddhism. Understanding dukkha, however, is critical to understand the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths are the foundation of Buddhism. In the first sermon of the Buddha's Dhammacakkappavattana, he has teaching given that. Then let us see the Buddha explain why we have dukkha in our life. First thing is, why we have dukkha? Because all the things impermanent and dependent on causes and condition to be born and die. So that is one condition we have. And also due to delusion, we believe in the illusion of self, me and I, thinking our body makes us permanent and independent. So that is what we think. That is due to delusion. We think that this is a permanent and independent. And also the third factor is this belief causes us to attachment to things. So that is why, due to that delusion, we have some kind of attachment to things, because we think those are permanent. So we have that attachment. That lastly, which results the craving that creates actions. Due to that craving, what we do, due to that upadana, what we do, we create actions, good and bad, all these things we do. Then what will happen? We are keeping us trapped in the cycle of rebirth. That is what called samsara. So Buddha taught three main categories of dukkha, because we have to understand this factor of dukkha a little bit. At least we have to think there is dukkha in our life. So Buddha categorized three ways. That is what called, first one called the dukkha. That is suffering or pain. That is ordinary suffering, whatever we are facing, as defined by the English word that is good for this explanation, one of the dukkha. This includes physical, emotional and mental pains we all have. That is in that dukkha. That another dukkha is viparinama dukkha, that is impermanence of change. What will happen? Anything that is not permanent, that is subject to change. It is dukkha. Therefore, happiness is dukkha because it is not permanent. Great success, which fades away with the passing of time, it is also dukkha. Even one purest state, bliss experience in spiritual practice, also dukkha. So all these things are changing, that is why. This doesn't mean that happiness, success and blissful are bad. Oh, that is wrong to enjoy them. If you feel happy, then enjoy feeling happily. Just don't cling to it. When you cling to it, then what will happen? That is the problem. We have to enjoy life, but you have to be happy, feel happy. But when you are having that idea of clinging to it, then that is the day we have the problems. Then third one, Buddha explains sankhara dukkha, that is conditioned states. That to be conditioned is to be dependent on or affecting by something else. According to the teachings of dependent origination, all phenomena are conditioned. Everything affects everything else. This is the most difficult part of teachings of the dukkha to understand. But it is critical to understand that teaching if you are studying Buddha's teaching. And also in this sermon, Buddha explained there are some other kind of dukkha. There are 8 kind of dukkha mentioned in the first sermon of the Buddha. Buddha said, Idang kopana bhikkhave dukkhang arya satyang jatipi dukkha jarapi dukkha vyadipi dukkho maranampi dukkhang appye sampayogo dukkho pyehi vippayogo dukkho yampi channalabhati tampi dukkhang sankittena panchupadanakkhandha dukkha. Buddha said those things. There are the 8 kind of suffering, dukkha, mentioned in that sermon. So firstly, let us see what is jati. Jati is birth. Suffering at birth. The pain gone through from the moment of conception to time of birth, there is a lot of suffering. We can't remember them. We experience the pain and fear that results from birth into a world where we are like a prisoner. Our body cannot escape the physical nature of the world, and we must navigate it, starting off as a helpless baby. So you can imagine, no child, I haven't heard, no child has been born while laughing. Because all babies are born crying, very loud cry. Because it is, whether it is Happiness or unhappiness, I don't know, but it should be some kind of suffering, maybe thinking what a life I am going to get. So that is what is there. Is while birth also it is not a very happy thing. Then suffering through the whole of life, we have to think back about our life. After birth, there will be distress and discomfort such as stiffness, heat, cold, itch, while he is still too young to alleviate them himself by changing of postures through moving, shaking, sitting or standing. Can't do it. Then he has to suffer. Someone has to do it. Innumerable difficulties are bound to follow when he grows up and comes face to face with the problem of earning a living. So up to that, earning a living. So that time also you have to face a lot of dukkhas, but we don't consider as dukkha. Let us think that going to school, study, work, what things? Because same thing, you have to do those things continuously. Then one goes through all these sufferings simply because one happened to take a new existence. That is what happened. Wherever you are being born, so all these things has to be followed. According to the jati, the rebirth, being the foundation of all the miseries of whole existence is defined as dukkha by the Buddha. Whatever the things we have to face from the birth into this life, miseries, whatever it is, all these things explained by the Buddha. So, happiness you get, and also the unhappiness get. All these things are in that dukkha, what we call it. Rebirth is dreadful. Like signing document, which will later give rise to complications. So that is what you may have experience with it. So, therefore, jati, rebirth, is dukkha because of its dreadfulness. When there is no more rebirth, there will be total release from those pains. Therefore, the Buddha had taught that the very origination of new existence is suffering. So sometimes we think, oh, we are happy in this world. But it is not a real case, because there are a lot of sufferings in even the human world. We think when you go to heavenly world, we are happy if we can be born over there. But it is not a permanent. It is sometimes you go up and down with that. Whenever you see the teachings of the Buddha, how they were describe about their life, you can understand. And also they have to come back to, again, it is not a permanent place, then they have to come back and they have to suffer too. Animal world, sometimes people think, oh, in this part of the world, in the Western countries, so dogs and cats are very, very, they have very good life. Yes, but it is only few of them. But in this world, the animal world is not a happy place to live. So that is also the same thing. We don't know what type of animal is going to be, what is the attack you are going to get. So we don't know all those things. So that is also not a happy place. So even the Brahma world, so Deva world, or human world, so animal world, or Asura world, so whatever it is worlds, but those are, we can't say happy places. Birth cannot be a happy occasion, happy thing for us. Then we go to Jara. Jara means suffering because of aging. When we are getting old, we all face different type of things. Aging means becoming grey hair. So that time also we have some bad tooth loss, wrinkles, bend, deaf, and poor eyesight. All these things we have to face. The physical aging goes on throughout life quite unmistakably, but becomes very noticeable only when one advances in age and is not longer youthful. After 50, 60 years, you will find what a life is, because most of us, we are facing the same thing. So other young people also will come to the same place, same thing, same pain, same suffering. Aging forms the source of physical and mental suffering. The Buddha had said that jara is fearful dukkha. That is the getting old, that is the fearful dukkha. People are afraid of old age. When you are getting old, you are afraid of, because we don't know what will happen if we is there anybody to look after me, and also all those problems. That is why people are having fear on that. Then the next one is illness of suffering, that vyadi. I don't know anyone in this world who has never has an illness. But at the time of the Buddha, there was a monk, but he also had little problems, not big problems. And we most all suffer through it, because we all have illnesses. Everything from ache and pains, indigestion, to outright disease come into play here. So there are a lot of diseases. Any time, anything can happen to us, and also we are all having a lot of problems. So next one is marana. That means death. Death as suffering we have to look at. Death means just to moment dissolution of jivita, that's life. Nama and rupa. Nama and rupa. Materials and also the mental quality. And not by itself pain or distress. However, when death comes, one must abandon the physical body and leave behind one's dear and near ones, relatives and friends, together with all of one's own possessions, properties. The thought of leaving the present existence is very frightening, and every mortal is seized with fear of death. Uncertainty as to which existence one is bound after death causes great fear too, because after death we don't know where we are going to be, whether we are going to animal world, we are going to some other world of suffering. We don't know. That fear is there. Because of its fearsome, dreadful nature, the Buddha had described death as dukkha. So that is also we have to face. But that phase that comes because we have to leave all the things, our friends, family members, and all the things. That's why. So that fear comes, and also I am going to be born again. So according to karmic deed, if someone has done so much bad deeds, then he will have so much fear, thinking that where I will be. So that is why Buddha said this is a very fearful state, dreadful nature. Then there is pain to mind, depression, despair, anxiety, worry, anger, hatred, fear, lust, grief. All those things are there. Those are suffering in our life. All these, as humans, we have to face all these situations. Then the Buddha said, Appyai sampayoga dukkho, suffering from association with the hateful. We all have people we would rather not interact with. Whenever we do have to interact, then what will happen? We have to suffer. We don't want to see some people because due to different reasons, but we are meeting time to time, we have to live with them, so that is also great suffering, Buddha explained. Then the suffering from separation from the beloved one, when due to our desire for attachment, this affects us the most. When someone dies, moves away, or even does not love us as we love them, it causes us with form of suffering. So all these things are there in our life. So that is sometimes we feel very, very bad with that type of feelings. And also the suffering from not getting what one wants, another thing Buddha explained. we have to become more attached. We have become more attached to the world, and not in good way. We have become more determined to possess things we want, and there sure seem to a lot we want to have. So that is what all ordinary way of life. We need more. When the new things comes, we want to get it. But if we can't get it, then we suffer. When we can't get that, what we want, we suffer. That is the suffering we all have. Because it is there. Because when now diesel vehicle has to change, then that time you have suffering, because how I can get a new one. And also some others, then they are finding, they wanted to have a nice meal, but they can't afford. They can't go on a tour. So they suffer. So when they cannot afford all those things, they suffer. But also, if someone can afford it, but there is this dissatisfaction afterwards, because then he is thinking again for another occasion. In that way, all the suffering continue. Because whenever we won't get whatever you want, then that is suffering. Then the very important suffering Buddha explained is suffering from the 5 groups of grasping. What are the 5 aggregates? Are what we makes you exist, which are form, feelings, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. That is the Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. That is, you are alive because of all 5 of these things exist. Take any away, you cease to exist. But when you are together, when they are together, they cause something big. Fuel for dukkha. That is fuel for dukkha. Now that you are you want things. Because it makes that 5 aggregates make you. You means the I, me concept. You want things. Therefore the Buddha said, all things are on fire, because we see so many things that we are attached to, which fuel the cycle of rebirth. So these are the 8 factors Buddha has given in that sermon. Then what is the self? Self is very important factor to understand. This takes us to Buddha's teaching on the self. According to doctrine of Anatma, of the teaching of Buddha, there is no self in the sense of permanent, integral, autonomous being within an individual existence. What we think of as ourself, our personality, and ego are temporary creation of those 5 skandhas, 5 aggregates, that is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. That materiality, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness, all these things got together make that feeling called the self. The skandhas, 5 aggregates, or 5 heaps are the combination of 5 properties or energies that make what we think as an individual being. Theravada scholar, that a very important book written by Dr. Venerable Valpola Rahula Thero, he explained about it. He said, I quote, what we call a being or an individual or I is only a convenient name or label given to the combination of these 5 groups. They are all impermanent, all constantly changing. Whatever is impermanent is dukkha. That is what he said. Yada anicchang thang dukkha. That is what Buddha said. This is the true meaning of the Buddha's words. In belief, the 5 aggregates of attachment are dukkha. So that's the Valparahula more explained. They are not the same for 2 consecutive minutes. Here, A is not equal to A. They are an flux of momentary arising and disappearing, unquote. That is what the Venerable Rahula said in his book, What the Buddha Thought, that what is self is. Then let us see, life is dukkha. Understand the Four Noble Truth is not easy. First Noble Truth, the dukkha, is not easy. For most of us, it takes years of dedicated practice, especially to go beyond conceptual understanding to a realization of teaching. Yet people often superficially dismiss Buddhism as soon as they hear the word suffering. That is why I think it is useful to toss out English words like suffering and stressful and go back to dukkha. Let the meaning of dukkha unfold for you without other words getting in the way. The Buddha summarizes his own teachings as this way. Both formerly and now, it is only dukkha that I describe and the cessation of dukkha. That is what Buddha said. He summarized his teaching. Both formerly and now, it is only dukkha that I describe and the cessation of dukkha. Buddhism will be a model for anyone who doesn't grasp the deeper meaning of dukkha. The second noble truth of the Buddha's teaching is the cause of suffering, desire and attachment. That is kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. Desire for sensual pleasures, cherishing views and opinions, the belief that rites, rituals and ceremonies are going to bring a relief of suffering, and the very strong attachment we have to concept of self, of I and me. No one makes us hold on. There is no force of power outside of ourselves which keeps us bound to the wheel of life and death. It is just the clinging in our own mind. So what does samsara mean? In Buddhism, samsara is often defined as an endless cycle of rebirth, for birth. Endless cycle of birth, death and rebirth. Or you may understand it as a world of suffering and dissatisfaction. The opposite of Nibbana, that is opposite of Nibbana, which is the condition of being free from suffering and the cycle of rebirth. In literal terms, Sanskrit word samsara means flowing on or passing through. It is illustrated by the wheel of life and explained by the 12 link of dependent origination. So where is Pacchampada? It might be understood as the state of being bound by greed, hate and ignorance, or as a veil of illusion that hides true reality. In traditional Buddhist philosophy, we are trapped in samsara through one life after another until we find awakening through enlightenment. So that is what we are doing in samsara. We are not finding peace of self. However, the best definition of samsara and one of more modern applicable may be, I quote, instead of a place, it is a process. Samsara is a process. The tendency to keep creating world and then moving into them. And note that this creating and moving in doesn't just happen once at birth. We are doing it all the time. That samsara is not after death only, because it is now it is happening. So that is the important thing to understand. Creating world, we are not just creating worlds, we are also creating ourselves. We beings are all process of physical and mental phenomena. The Buddha taught that what we think of as our permanent self, our ego, self-consciousness and personality is not found fundamentally real, but it is continually generated based on prior conditions and choices. From moment to moment, Our bodies, sensations, conceptions, ideas and beliefs and consciousness work together to create the illusion of permanent distinctive me. What we take to be reality is always made up in the large part of our subjective experience of the world. In a way, each of us living in different world that we create with our thoughts and perception. So that is very important. We create world. Buddha said, we are making world ourselves. We can think of rebirth when as something that happens from one life to another, and also something that happens moment to moment. In Buddhism, rebirth or reincarnation is not the transmigration of an individual soul to a new body, because some other religions explain like that, but more like the karmic conditions and effect of life moving towards into a new life. That is what the Buddhist perspective is. With this kind of understanding, we can interpret this model of meaning that we are reborn psychologically many times within our life. Likewise, we can think of the 6 realms as places we may be reborn into every moment. In a day, we might pass through all of them. In this modern sense, the 6 realms can be considered by psychological states. So, for an example, sometimes you say, I am in hell. Because when you have a lot of problems, then you are in hell. And also sometimes when you are overjoyed, then I am in heaven because everything fulfilled. So we live in a world, every time we live in the same, these 6 realms. It is not, there is rebirth, it is happening all the time. The critical point is that living in samsara is a process. It is something we are all doing right now. Not just something we do at the beginning of a future life. It is happening now. Then the problems come, then this samsara is continuing. How to stop that? That is the things Buddha wanted to explain. Then Buddha in his sermons, Buddha explained how to liberate from samsara. Then we bring to again the Four Noble Truths. Very basically, the truth tells us that we are creating our samsara, our cycle of birth. Then Buddha explained the second factor, how we are creating this samsara, cycle of rebirth, how we are creating it. Then it comes that we can stop this creating samsara. That means the cycle of birth. We can stop it. Then the Buddha here says the way to stop by following the Eightfold Path. So samsara is cause, and also we are creating ourselves, and also we are creating our samsara and we suffer with it, and also there is samsara. Then Buddha said how we are creating it, and also the Buddha said how we can stop this samsara, and also what we have to do to stop this samsara. Then it explained in this 12 link of dependent origination, described in process of 12 in the samsara. We see that the first link is avidya, ignorance. This is ignorance of the Buddha's teaching of the Four Noble Truths and ignorance of who we are. This leads to the second link, sankhara, which is contained the seeds of karma and so on. Central Buddhist teaching, Buddhist philosophy and practice is the principle of dependent origination. That is very important teaching, sometimes called the dependent arising, that is paticca samuppada. In essence, these principles say that all things happen through the cause of an effect, and they are interdependent. No phenomena, whether outer or inner, occurs except as a reaction to a previous cause, and all phenomena will in turn condition in the following result. Buddhist doctrine carefully enumerate categories or links or phenomena that constitute this cycle of existence that makes up samsara, the endless circle of dissatisfaction that constitutes the unenlightened life. Escaping samsara and achieving enlightenment is the result of breaking these links. The 12 links is an explanation of how dependent origination works according to Buddhist doctrine. This is not regarded as a direct path, but a repeated one in which all links are connected to all other links, especially from samsara can be initiated by any link in the chain. As once any link is broken, the chain is useless. Let us understand this chain wheel of life, how we get the cycle of rebirth. So this is not an explanation on a rebirth, but this is this one wheel of life explained in this Paticcasamuppada. Ignorance. Ignorance is the context means not understanding the basic truth. In Buddhism, ignorance usually refers to the ignorance of the Four Noble Truths, in particular that life is dukkha, which means unsatisfactory or stressful. So we all do not understand that ignorance, due to our ignorance, this is something suffering. We don't understand. So we think it is the happy thing. Ignorance also refers to ignorance of anatta, the teaching that there is no self in the sense of permanent, integral, autonomous being within an individual existence. What we think of as ourself, our personality and ego, are Buddhists regarded as temporary assemblies of skandhas, that 5 aggregators. Failure to understand this is a major form of ignorance. So ignorance means not understand of the Four Noble Truths and also about the self. So that is the one ego, that is what we call the ignorance. Then dependent on this ignorance, there arises sankhara. Due to non-understanding of those factors, then we do our sankharas, there arise sankharas, volitional activities we do. Volitional activities. Second one, ignorance produces sankhara, which can be translated as volitional actions, formations, impulses, or motivation. Because we don't understand the truth, we have impulses that lead to actions that continue us along the path of samsaric existence, which spread the seed of karma. That is what we do. Due to that ignorance, we do a lot of karmas, good and bad deeds we perform in our life. Then what will happen, depend on sankhara, that means depend on the volitional activities, there arise the consciousness, vijnana. Conditioned consciousness, that vijnana. Vijnana usually translated to mean consciousness. Defined here is not thinking, but rather as the basic awareness faculties of the 6 senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. That vijnana comes to that. There are therefore 6 different types of consciousness in the Buddhist system. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, smell consciousness, taste consciousness, touch consciousness, and thought consciousness. Then what will happen? Depending on the vijnana, that consciousness, there arises mind and matter. Then the nama rupa start. Nama rupa is the moment when the matter joined mind. It represents the artificial assembly of the 5 khandhas to form the illusion of an individual, independent existence. Namarupa works together with the next links, the 6 sense bases, the condition with other links. That is, depend on Namarupa, there are salayatana, 6-fold sense bases. What are the 6 senses? Salayatana. Upon the assembly of khandhas into illusion of an independent individual, the six senses, ear, nose, ear, tongue, body and mind arise, which will lead to onward to the next link. Sadayatana relates direct to the next link, contact between the faculties and objects to form the sense impressions. That is depend on salayatana, there arises phassa, that's contact. So when you have a body, when you have those organs, when you have the ear, nose and all these things, then you have the contact with others, contact with the senses. When we see things, when we hear things, then we all have that phassa, sense impression. Sparsha, because phassa is contact between an individual sense faculties and the outer environment. The contact between faculties and objects lead to the experience of feeling, which is the next link. Then whenever we have this contact, then we have the feelings. You all know what are the feelings according to Buddhist teaching. We have the pleasant, unpleasant and neutral feeling. All those things we experience. Then some we feeling with happy feeling or pleasant feeling and also unhappy. Some we don't want to have that one. We reject something and also we want to grab it. That's what happened. Then dependent on these feelings, then comes the Vedana, the craving comes. Due to craving, that comes the Trishna, desire for craving. This craving, Vedana brings the craving, and also craving becomes the Upadana, that is attachment. That is a great factor here. Upadana is the attachment and clinging mind. We are attached to sensual pleasures, views, external forms and appearances, mortal. We cling to the illusion of ego and the sense of an individual self. So that depends on this upadana, there is bhava. Bhava means again becoming. The bhava is new beginning, new becoming, set in motion by the other links. All these links are there, then the bhava comes. Then that is in the Buddhist system, that is the starting point. All others suffer. Dependent on the bhava, there arises the jati, the birth comes. When the birth cycle of rebirth naturally includes birth into a sansaric life or jati, it is an inevitable stage of the wheel of life. And the Buddhists believe that unless the chain of dependent origination is broken, we will continue to experience birth into the same cycle. Birth inevitably lead to old age and death. So that is what happened. Because now you got the jati, then afterwards you have to get all the things. Depend on jati, there arises what are the other things? Jara, marana, soka, parideva, dukkha, domana, supayasa. Now due to that birth, what we get the old age, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair, all those things are coming to us. So that is the last one, is called the old age and death, jara, marana. The chain inevitably lead to old age and death, the dissolution of what we come to be. The karma of one life set in motion another life. So, rooted in ignorance, it goes and goes. A circle that closes is one that also continues. Four Noble Treatises are that release from the circle of samsara is possible through the dissolution of ignorance, volitional formations, craving and grasping. There is liberation from birth and death and peace of nirvana. So we can think of this cycle chain as something that happened in the beginning of each new life. But by a modern psychological reading, it is also something we are doing all the time. Becoming mindful of this is the first step of liberation. With regard to the Four Noble Truths, we have four functions to perform. The first Noble Truth is dukkha, the nature of life. It is suffering, it is sorrow and joys. It is imperfection and unsatisfactoriness. It is impermanence and insubstantiality. With regard to this, our function is to understand it is a fact. There is a dukkha, clearly and completely. That is what Sutta explained. Pariññayang pariññātaṃ. Second noble truth, Buddha said it is the desire for thirst, accompanied by all other passions, defilements and impurities. Mere understanding of this fact is not sufficient. Here our function is to discard it, to eliminate, to destroy and eradicate it. That is called the paha, tabbang and pahina. Third noble truth is the cessation of dukkha, nirvana, the absolute truth, the ultimate reality. Here our function is to realize it. Satchika tabbang satchikatang. That is what explained in the teaching. The Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Fourth noble truth is the path leading to the cessation of Nibbana. A mere knowledge is path, however complete, will not do. In this case, our function is to follow it and keep it up. That is called the bhave tabbang bhavitam, when you practice it. Then, samsara and nirvana is connected with Sansara is connected with Nirvana. Nirvana is not a place, but a state that is neither being nor non-being. Theravada Buddhists, Theravada Buddhism understands Sansara and Nirvana to be opposite. When we cease to create Sansara, Nirvana naturally appears. Nirvana then can be seen as the purified true nature of Sansara. However you understand it, the message is that although unhappiness of samsara is our lot in life, it is possible to understand the reason for it and the method for escaping it. So we should have good understanding of dukkha and cause of dukkha. Now we make samsara and now how the wheel of life function in dependent origination. How we can break the chain of this world, this wheel. So that is what in this sermon, if I summarize this teaching, so Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the main teachings of the Buddha, it explained about the two extremes and Four Noble Truths and also the Eightfold Path. And also it leads us to understand the wheel of life. Wheel of life explained in the Paticcasamuppada. Then Paticcasamuppada, it is very important. When we understand it, we have to break chain somewhere, then there is no continuation. Which one to break it is up to you. Which one we have to stop it. Whether birth or whether ignorance, whether greed or whether upadana. So it is dependent upon you. That is why Buddha said, Tummehi kiccang atappang akkhataro tathagata. Enlightened one only pointed out the way. He cannot practice for art. So because of truth is something we cannot put into words or give away. To realize the Dhamma, we must take that teaching and bring into our heart. That part which is for the body, we apply for the body. That part which is for the speech, we apply for the speech. And that part which is for the mind, we apply to the mind. To achieve this peace, Nibbana, you must work on yourself. Therefore, work hard to come out of your misery and to enjoy the happiness of liberation. Keep practicing of the path of Dhamma, not only for your own benefit and liberation, but also for the benefit and liberation of many. May all of you enjoy real happiness. May all be happy. May you have understanding of the teachings of the Buddha. May we all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana one day.
ශ්‍රාවක සංඝෝ සාමීචි පටිපන්නෝ භගවතු ශ්‍රාවක සංඝෝ යදිදං චත්තාරි පුරිස යුගානි අට්ඨ පුරිස පුග්ගලායේස භගවතු ශ්‍රාවක සංඝෝ පාහුනේයෝ දක්ඛිනේයෝ අංජලි කරණීයෝ අනුත්තරං පුඤ්ඤක්ඛෙතං නේතේන දජ්ජවජ්ජේන පාතු ත්වං රතනත්‍රයං නේතේන දජ්ජවජ්ජේන පාතු ත්වං රතනත්‍රයං පාතු ත්වං රතනත්‍රයං රජ්ජවජ්ජේන පාතු ත්වං රතනත්‍රයං සබ්බීතියෝ විවජ්ජන්තු සබ්බ රෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ සුඛී දීඝායුකෝ භවතු සබ්බ මංගලං රක්ඛන්තු සබ්බ දේවතා සබ්බ බුද්ධානුභාවේන සදා සත්‍ති භවන්තු තේ භවතු සබ්බ මංගලං රක්ඛන්තු සබ්බ දේවතා සබ්බ ධම්මානුභාවේන සදා සත්‍ති භවන්තු තේ භවතු සබ්බ මංගලං රක්ඛන්තු සබ්බ දේවතා සබ්බ සංඝානුභාවේන සදා සත්‍ති භවන්තු තේ. ඉෂ්ඨාත කාමී ශාසනමාමක ලෝකපාලක සම්යද්දෘෂ්ටික සියලු දෙවි දේවතාවෝ මේ පින් අනුමෝදන් වෙලා ඔබ සෑම දෙනාටම ආශිර්වාද කෙරෙත්වා ආරක්ෂාව සලසා දෙත්වා අසනුමියෙන් පසු වෙන සියලු දෙනාට ආශිර්වාද කෙරෙත්වා නැසී ගිය සියලු අපේ ඥාතීන් මේ පින් අනුමෝදන් වෙලා සුවපත් වෙත්වා නිදුක් වෙත්වා නිරෝගී වෙත්වා සියලු සත්වෝ මේ පින් අනුමෝදන් වෙත්වා සුවපත් වෙත්වා නිදුක් වෙත්වා එත්තාවතාච අම්මේහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ දේවානුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පatti සිද්ධියා එත්තාවතාච අම්මේහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ භූතානුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පatti සිද්ධියා එත්තාවතාච අම්මේහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ සත්තානුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පatti සිද්ධියා ඉදම්මේ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ. අද දවසේ මේ ඇසළ පොහොය සීකරන වෙලාවේ දවල් බුද්ධ පූජාව පවත්වන්න ලැබීම ලොකු වාසනාවක්. ජීවමාන බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේට බුද්ධ පූජාව තැබුවා හා සමානයි කියලා සන්තෝෂ වෙන්න. ඒ වගේම සංඝිකමය දාන පූජාවක් පැවැත්වුවා. මේ සලාක දානිය අද විශේෂයෙන්ම යොදාගත්තේ තමන්ගේ උපන් දිනේ තියෙන නිසා නොනමාත්මියගේ. ඉතින් අපි ඔබ සෑම දෙනාම එකතු වුණෙත් ඒ වෙනුවෙන් මේ හිතවත් ඊටම ළඟින් ආශ්‍රය කරන හිතවතුන් තමන්ගේ පුතයි දුවයි දෙදෙනාත් සමග මේ කරන ලද පින්කමේ ආශිර්වාදයෙන් ඒකාන්තයෙන්ම නිරෝගී භාවයේ දිනු වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම මෑණියන්ගේ අසනීපය ඉක්මනින්ම සනීපයට පත් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් ඔබතුමියට සුබ උපන්දිනයක් උදා වේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. අභිවාදන සීලිස නිච්ඡං වද්ධාපචායිනෝ චත්තාරෝ ධම්මා වද්දන්ති ආයුවන්නෝ සුඛං බලං ආයුරාෝග්‍ය සම්පatti සග්ග සම්පatti මේවච අතු නිපාන සම්පatti මිනාති සමිච්ඡතු. එනම් පිරිත් මුලකුත් බැඳලා මෙයන්නේ. එන්න අයිකෝ. වන්දිනියක් වේවා ඉතින් සෙත් පතනවා.